Saint Walpurga or Walburga, also spelled Waldeburg or Gibor, was an English missionary to the Frankish Empire. She was canonized on the 1st of May, California, 870 by Pope Adrian II. Walpurgis Night is the name for the eve of her day, which coincides with May Day. Early life. Walpurga was born in the county of Devonshire, England, into a local aristocratic family. She was the daughter of Saint Richard the Pilgrim, one of the under-kings of the West Saxons, and of Winna, sister of Saint Boniface, Apostle of Germany, and had two brothers, Saint Willibald and Saint Winibald. Saint Richard is buried in the Basilica of San Frediano, Lucca, where he died on pilgrimage in 722. Saint Richard is also known as Richard the Saxon Pilgrim, of Droitwich. Religious career. Saint Richard, when starting with his two sons on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, entrusted Walburga, then 11 years old, to the abbess of Wimborne. Walpurga was educated by the nuns of Wimborne Abbey, Dorset, where she spent 26 years as a member of the community. She then travelled with her brothers, Willibald and Winebald, to Francia to assist Saint Boniface, her mother's brother, in evangelizing among the still pagan Germans. Because of her rigorous training, she was able to write her brother Winibald's Vita and an account in Latin of his travels in Palestine. As a result, she is often called the first female author of both England and Germany. Walpurga became a nun in the double monastery of Heidenheim am Hahn-Enkam, which was founded by her other brother, Willibald, who appointed her as his successor. Following his death in 751, she became the abbess. Death. Walpurga died on the 25th of February 777 or 779 and was buried at Heidenheim. The day carries her name in the Catholic Church calendar. In the 870s, Walpurga's remains were transferred to Eichstätt in Finland, Sweden, and Bavaria. Her feast day commemorates the transfer of her relics on the 1st of May. Veneration. Walpurga's feast day is the 25th of February, but the day of her canonization, the 1st of May, was also celebrated during the High Medieval period, especially in the 11th century under Anno II, Archbishop of Cologne, so that Walpurgis Night is the eve of May Day, celebrated in continental folklore with dancing. At Eichstätt, her bones were placed in a rocky niche, which allegedly began to exude a miraculously therapeutic oil, which drew pilgrims to her shrine. The two earliest miracle narratives of Walpurga are the Miraculous Wahlburger Mannheimensis by Wolfhard von Heroden, datable to 895 or 896, and the late 10th century Vita Secunda linked with the name of Aselbod, Bishop of Utrecht. In the 14th century, Vita S. Wahlburger of Philip von Rathsauhausen, Bishop of Eichstätt, the miracle of the tempest-tossed boat is introduced, which Peter Paul Rubens painted in 1610 for the altarpiece for the Church of St. Walpurgis, Antwerp. The earliest representation of Walpurga, in the early 11th century Hittite Codex, made in Cologne, depicts her holding stylized stalks of grain. In other depictions the object has been called a palm branch, which is not correct, since Walpurga was not martyred. The grain attribute has been interpreted as an occasion where a Christian saint came to represent the Oldo-pagan concept of the grain mother. Peasant farmers fashioned her replica in a corn dolly at harvest time and told tales to explain St. Walpurga's presence in the grain sheaf. The Church of St. Wahlberg, a Roman Catholic church in Preston, Lancashire, England, is a beautiful church famous for having the tallest spire of any parish church in England. Patronage. Walpurga is the patroness of Eichstätt and Weilburg, Germany, Oudenaarde, Vern, Antwerp, Belgium, and Zutphen, Netherlands, and she is invoked as special patroness against hydrophobia, and in storms, and also by sailors. Legacy. St. Walburga's Abbey is located at Eichstätt. Bavaria. A second Benedictine abbey of St. Walburga is located in Virginia Dale, Colorado, near the Wyoming border. The abbey is home to approximately 20 contemplative Catholic nuns and also has a retreat center. At 309 feet, the spire of St. Walburga Church in Antwerp. Central in the first fortified city of Antwerp, from the 11th century, was the church dedicated to St. Walburga. Under French occupation in 1798, the church was confiscated and sold. It served as a warehouse. In 1816 the Dutch government confiscated the church building, and in 1817 it was demolished. The city mayor and aldermen decided to erect a statue of Peter Paul Rubens on the Burg Square left after the demolition. In 1880, when the Scheldt quays were built, most of the area of the first fortified city from the 11th century was demolished, and even the foundations of the St. Walburga's church disappeared, and the statue was moved to the Grainplatz. Some parts of the interior of that ancient church, which actively served for more than 700 years, were recovered. The altarpiece painting the elevation of the cross and the predella have been reused in the main altar of the Cathedral of Our Lady. Another altar was moved to the N.I. Heigskirk in Tilburg, where it serves as main altar. In 1936, the city master builder N.A. Floor van Rieth constructed a new modernistic church building with the same name on the Volksstraat near Hetzoud. This building was declared a monument in 1995 and was restored in 2007.